All right, welcome. We're about to go on a little detective journey into the world of all the stuff around us. We're going to try and uncover the hidden rules that decide why everything, from a simple spoon to your smartphone, is made exactly the way it is.
I know, it sounds like a totally silly question, right? But seriously, stick with me here, because the answer to this one simple puzzle is actually the key to understanding the entire material world. It's our very first clue.
I mean, just for a second, look around you right now. We are just surrounded by this incredible variety of things. Food, our clothes, the furniture in the room, all kinds of tools. It's a huge, almost overwhelming collection of stuff.
And just look at this list. It's all over the place, right? We've got a chair, a potato, a book, and a stone. They all have completely different shapes, different colors, and we use them for totally different things. It feels kind of chaotic, doesn't it?
So how do you even start to make sense of all that? Well, the very first step, and this is what any good investigator does, is you start sorting. You've got to find a way to group these things together so you can start to see the patterns.
Now, you could group things by their shape, put an apple, an orange, and a ball in one pile because they're all round. And that's fine. It's useful sometimes. But the real secret, the clue that unlocks this whole puzzle, is grouping objects by what they're made of. Things like wood, plastic, or metal.
And this is where it gets really interesting. Once we start focusing on materials, we need a kind of investigator's toolkit to figure them out. We need to look at their unique characteristics, or, as scientists call them, their properties.
So, first up in our toolkit is something called luster. You know that special shine you see on metals? That's luster. You might not notice it on an old, rusty pipe, but if you look at a freshly cut piece of metal, you'll see that bright, shiny surface.
Okay, next tool, hardness. And this one is super intuitive. I mean, think about it. How easy is it to squeeze a soft sponge compared to, say, a chunk of iron? One gives way super easily, the other one doesn't budge at all. That's hardness in a nutshell.
All right, now for one you've definitely seen before, probably in your own kitchen, solubility. It really just boils down to a simple question. When you pop something in water and give it a stir, does it kind of disappear or not?
For instance, salt and sugar, they're totally soluble. Stir them into water and they just vanish. But then you try that with something like sand or sawdust. Nope, they're insoluble. They just float around or sink to the bottom. They don't mix at all.
And that whole idea of being insoluble leads us right to another simple property, right? If something doesn't dissolve, well, what does it do next? It's pretty simple. It either floats on the top, like a piece of wood, or it sinks to the bottom, like a rock.
All right, our last set of clues here, and this one is all about sight. It's basically asking the question, can you see through a material or not?
So first, you've got your transparent materials. Think of a glass window, right? You can see right through it, crystal clear. And that's exactly why you often see cookies and candy in glass jars at the store, so you can see what you're getting.
Then you have the total opposite, opaque. Think of a wooden box or a metal can. Light can't get through at all. You have absolutely no clue what's inside just from looking at it.
And then sitting right there in the middle, you have translucent. This is where some light gets through, but everything looks blurry and fuzzy. The classic example, that oily spot on a piece of paper. You can see light through it, but you definitely can't make out any details on the other side.
Okay, so our investigator's toolkit is now full. We've got luster, hardness, solubility, and all that stuff about seeing through things. Now, it's time to go back and finally solve that first mystery.
So, let's ask it again. Why not a cloth tumbler? Now that we've got all these tools, what's the real answer?
Because it would be ridiculous, right? A tumbler's whole job is to hold a liquid, and the properties of cloth, well, it's just not waterproof. The water would seep right through. You need something like glass or plastic, a material whose properties match the job it needs to do.
Okay, so this seems pretty straightforward. But what's the big deal? Why does all this sorting and classifying even matter? Well, it turns out it matters for a couple of really big reasons. First, there's just everyday convenience. It's why grocery stores put all the biscuits together and all the soaps together, so we can find things. But, and this is the really important part, it allows scientists to study these properties, spot patterns, and, you guessed it, invent totally new things.
So, look, it all boils down to this one simple, powerful idea. This is basically the master rule for everything. We choose a material to make an object based on its properties and on the purpose, the job, that object is supposed to do.